Anyway, I hope you guys had an amazing week. This week has seemed to go on, has gone by like super slow. I don't know if that's just me. Maybe your week went by super quick. Who knows? I hope you're having an amazing week, or coming week. I hope you're having an amazing everything right now. I know that I'm feeling pretty awesome because I'm here, I'm recording, and I'm happy about that. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into the story, which, or actually, before we jump right into this week's story, we got to go back to last week's story. Whew, I'm all sorts of a mess today. So we're going to go ahead and review last week's story. Thinking of brains, what was last week's story? Last week's story wasn't just one story. We did 2 stories in one day. It was really crazy, but we did it, and that was so cool. So thinking of brains, what was the lesson from last week? I'll give you a hint. Involved some water. It's a big body of water. Involved a guy. His name started with a J. And we talked about his adventures and how he was a little bit worried and a little bit scared because he had some pretty big shoes to fill. Any guesses? Think in your brains, think of the answer, and let's see if you're right. It was Joshua. We learned about Joshua, or one of the many things about Joshua, and we went on and traveled with him, and we went on adventures with him, and as we know, Moses, the guy who was given the Ten Commandments, the guy who received the Ten Commandments, Moses, on Mount Sinai, he was getting old, he was getting up in age, so God wanted to pass Moses' job on to Joshua, and Joshua was pretty scared because Moses did so much, so that it was some pretty big shoes to fill. But God reminded Joshua that it is okay and that he will be with him every single step of the way, no matter what. And then we also, so that was like story part 1. Story part 2, we crossed the river, and we actually parted the river, and that was super cool. So they were able to walk over this rushing river when like on dry land, which was just so cool. And then we also used some rocks and built a little monument to say thanks to the Lord. And yeah, we had an action-packed week, definitely, or action-packed lesson last week. So if you haven't seen that, go ahead and check that out, because it was just like one thing after the other. 2 crafts, 2 songs. No, I don't think we did 2 songs. But it was 2 of everything, and it was super fun. So now for this week's story. Now we can go over to this week's story. Unfortunately, we're not following Joshua anymore. He's doing his own thing. We're gonna let him go and do something. But we are talking about some kings, and it's gonna be pretty cool. And what's really cool about this particular Bible story, get the dice out of the way. Okay. So with this Bible story, what we're going to do is we're going to do a read and response, and it's super simple to remember. So I'm gonna read a section, and then I'm gonna point to you, and then what you're gonna do is you're gonna go, "We want a king. We want a king." You don't have to say. You can shout it, "We want a king. We want a king," and it's gonna play a part into the Bible story. It'll make sense once we start reading it. Right now it's like what, but it'll make sense. So whenever I point to you, you gotta say, "We want a king. We want a king." Just twice. Or 3 times if you're feeling really crazy. It won't matter either way because I won't hear you, but hopefully you say it. Because it'll be pretty cool. So, Samuel was getting old. He appointed his sons to serve He appointed his sons to serve as Israel's judges. Samuel's sons were not like Samuel. They were often unfair. And some of the Israelites went to Samuel and asked him to give them a king. So say, "We want a king, we want a king." Go! Awesome. Okay. So Samuel was his king, and Samuel was getting old. And he appointed his sons to serve, but a lot of people, or to serve as judges, and a lot of people weren't too crazy about it because his sons did not have the same kind of ideas and sorts that Samuel had. So they were getting pretty mad, and they wanted a king. So Samuel prayed, and God told Samuel that by asking for a king, the Israelites were rejecting God as the king of their lives. Ooh. God told Samuel to go along with the Israelites' request, but to warn them what having a king would be like. But the people still said, "We want a king. We want a king. Go." Awesome. So Samuel prayed, and he's like, "God, give me some guidance. I don't know what to do here. And then God's like, hey, look, I can give you guys a king, but it's not, that would be the people straying away from me. But so he's like, so before when you talk to the people, make sure you warn them that that having a king won't be all rainbows and sunshines here. It won't all be too great. But they still said, we want a king, we want a king. So Samuel tried to explain to the people that if they had a king, the king would make everyone do things that they do not like, Samuel said. Then you will cry out to God to save you. So he tried to explain. It's like, hold on, wait, hold on. I know you guys want a king, but let me explain. But they're still and they're still going, go. Yes, we want a king. We want a king. So they are set in stone. They want a king, really bad. So even if he tried to explain, it's like it's gonna be. It's like the king's gonna make you do things that you're not gonna want to do, and then it's just gonna kind of go right back to. It's gonna be okay. They have a king, and then it's gonna go right back to, well, okay, God, we need help. So it's just gonna be this cycle, or not the cycle, but you can see where this is going to lead up to. But still, the people said, we want a king. We want a king. So, the Israelites didn't listen to Samuel's warning. Go figure. They wanted a king so they could be like other nations. So they're seeing that other nations, they're like, well, these other nations have a king and they seem to be doing kind of alright, so why can't we have a king? So they shouted again, we want a king, we want a king. So since the Israelites wanted a king, and God had agreed to choose one for them, Samuel had all the people gathered together. So everyone's gathered together, everyone that's been shouting, we want a king, we want a king. Everyone's been gathering together. Samuel had all the people gathered together. Samuel told the people that God says, I have delivered Israel from the Egyptians' power, and from all the kingdoms that have done you harm. But today you have rejected me and asked for a king. So God's kind of calling him out here. God's like, hey, I saved you from, what does it say exactly? From the Egyptians' power and from all the kingdoms that have done you harm, but you still want a king. That is just like, God's like, whoa, that's not too cool. That's pretty rude. Because he's done all these things and people are like, well, we don't care about that. That's cool, whatever, but we want a king. They're so set on the fact that they want a king. So they shouted, yes, we want a king, we want a king. So Samuel had the Israelites assemble by tribes. Then Saul was selected as a king. Everyone shout again, we want a king, we want a king. Awesome. But when the people looked for Saul, they couldn't find him. So they were looking around for Saul. Saul's nowhere to be found. He's hiding, God told them he's hiding among the supplies. The people ran and found Saul. But when he stood up in the middle of people, he was taller than everybody else. So he was hiding among some supplies. So he was hiding, and he stood up, and Saul's really tall. So he's like super tall compared to, so it's like, here's where everybody else is, and Saul's like up here. Like, he's really tall. So, where was I? Yes, okay. Samuel said, Can you see the one the Lord has chosen? He has no equal among people. But still, the people said, yes, long live the king, long live the king. So, there you go, that is the story. The people wanted the king so bad. It's like they could not live without a king. But in reality, they already had a king, and they already had someone to look up to. And who was that? It was God. God was there the whole time. And he's like, hey, look, listen. And God tried to warn him, too. He's like, hey, you've done this and this, and, like, I've saved you from all these things, and you still want a king, and you're just going to come back to me anyway because you're not going to agree with the king. And it was this whole messy situation. So there we go. So they wanted a king, and they got their king. So I don't know if we'll be continuing this Bible story next week. I actually am not too sure. If not, I might touch on it next week. Let me just check real quick. No, we are not. Oh, okay. I might touch on that a little bit next week. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. But you can always look it up and see what happens in the future with that king and some of the things that happen, and see if they were happy with their king or not. So there you go. That's something you can do. You can go look in the Bible, ask a parent, or guardian, or whoever, or call someone who maybe knowledgeable about the Bible. Go ahead and find out the rest of the story, because that kind of left on a little bit of a cliffhanger. So will they like their king? Will they not? Who knows? But you guys can find out. Alrighty. So because we have finished a Bible story, we have our poster piece here. Did I grab the right one? Yes. Okay. So here's the poster piece. Check that out. Look at Saul standing next to Samuel. He is so tall there. I don't think I need to ask you guys why this is the poster piece for this week. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. So there we go. Here is the poster piece, and we're just going to put it right there. Wow, we are blazing through this poster. By next week, we're going to have this poster all done. Wow, that's crazy. I mean, we did do 2 lessons, so we did have 2 poster pieces last week. So there you have it. So now the craft. The craft is also super simple. So the craft, what the craft is it's a crown. Now, why do you think the craft would be a crown? Take a guess. Why, out of all things, why would the craft be a crown? Yes, it's because we were talking about kings and how the people wanted a king so badly. So with this, okay. So with this, it's a crown, and I already did the craft. It doesn't look like it, but I actually glued on the little gems here. So this is going to be an extra creative project, because you can make a crown. So go ahead and you can get a piece of paper and then draw a crown, and then what you can do on a separate sheet of paper is you can make little separate jewels to cut out and then put on the crown. And what the crown actually spells something. Let me see. Let me scoot forward a little bit. It's really tiny. I don't think you can read that, so I'm gonna read it, and then I'll show it to you up close, so you can like screenshot it or something and write down. So it says, "The Lord your God is with you wherever you go," and that comes from Joshua chapter 1, verse 9. So I think, oh, there we go. It's right here. So there you go. I already covered over the verse, even though I haven't already for the posters. So you have this. Lord your God is with you wherever you go. That comes from Joshua chapter 1, verse 9. So that's what you can do is you can write on the little gems, or you could just write it on the bottom or something. Be creative. It doesn't, just because it's on the gems here doesn't mean it have to be on the gems for yours. It could be like, you could put gems up here. You could just write down anywhere. You can have it so it's like engraved in the crown. I don't know. You guys do what you want. You guys are always creative when it comes to your crafts, so I know you guys will come up with something probably even better. Definitely better than this. So there you go. So that was the craft for today. And actually, I forgot, speaking of Bible verses, I forgot to do the Bible verses, so I'm going to go ahead and do the Bible verses right now. That was a lot of times to say Bible verses. So here we have it. We just went, my cup fell. Okay. So we just went over it earlier, but the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. That's from Joshua chapter 1, verse 9c. You guys should know this one by now. It's like the 5th time whatever it's today. And then we also have over here, yes, you can see that. Be brave and strong, and that comes from Joshua chapter 1, verse 6a. And then we have the same thing over here as it is on this poster. So that is, those are our Bible verses. Yes. I was like, I'm forgetting something. I forgot about the dice. So let's go ahead. This is our verse dice. This has a bunch of verses that we've learned in the past. I think all of them are in the past by now, but it's still good to always review over them. So we're going to go ahead and give this a roll. And it landed, oh, you guys couldn't see that, but it landed on light blue. Oh, I don't think we have this one. Oh, well, this was pretty much the whole, like the summarization of the last month's group of lessons. So now faith, hope, and love remain. These 3 things, and the greatest of these is love. So back in, oh my gosh, what month even was it? Was it in March? No, it wasn't in March. May. I think it was in May. Wait. I don't know. Time's not a thing anymore in quarantine. It's just like, it's not even July. I mean, it is July, but it doesn't even feel like July. Like we're already halfway through the year and it's like, what? No way. So, sometime during our past units, we went over this. And it's also from 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 13. Chapter 13, verse 13. And that was kind of the main idea of all the lessons combined. Because they all talked about love and how important it was, and yeah, that was pretty much it. And how faith, hope, and love remain, and the greatest of these is love. So there we have it. Okay. Oh, yes, song of the week. I'm all over the place. I need to have, like, a schedule so I don't get off track. Or not off track, but I always bounce around with things, but it's fine. We still get it all covered anyway. So for the song of the week, I don't have one planned out, but it's for a specific reason too. So we've been talking about, or we talked about today, or actually today and yesterday, or not yesterday, but last week's stories, about leaders and how Saul is going to be a leader. He's going to be a king. Samuel was a leader to those people. Joshua was the leader of the people we talked about last week, and so was Moses and all that. So we're talking a lot about leaders. So for the song of the week, I want you to find someone, you can give them a call, or maybe they're in your house, or maybe you see them, I don't know. But find a leader that you look up to and someone who you think is a leader, and go ahead and ask them what's their favorite Christian song. That way when you listen to that song, then you can think and remember how important leaders are. So there you go. So go ahead and, it's kind of like a little mini project, I guess. So go ahead and ask someone who is a leader their favorite Christian song, and then you can remember the importance of leaders, and you can remember what we've learned in here too. So there we go. I think, cross our fingers, I think that's it. So we're going to go ahead and close the Lord's Prayer. You guys know the drill. I'm going to say one line, and you're going to repeat that line. It'll be really awkward for me because I can't hear you, but if you say it just along with me, it'll be just like if we were in the classroom, or in the actual classroom. So, alright, let's go ahead and pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. And give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. Alright, and that concludes our classroom corner for the week. Next week, it's going to be a parable. Yes, I'm excited for that. Super excited. I love parables. They're awesome. So it's going to be a parable. What parable is going to be? Who knows? We'll have to find out next week. In the meantime, I hope you guys have an amazing week. I hope you do amazing things. I know you're going to do amazing things. You guys are amazing. You guys are awesome. And everything else in between. You guys always make me smile. I miss you guys. I love you guys. God loves you too. Yeah. I will see you guys next week. I'm super excited. So, see you then. Bye-bye.